Yeah,
Um,
totally.
okay, well, we have the hour, and so people historically like jump in and out. And this is also going to be recorded, so we send it out to our community afterwards. So I want to make sure that we cover all of the interesting stuff that we wanted to chat about today.
Cool.
So I will just quickly kick off by welcoming everyone who is here right now. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, of course, Sam. We have Sam Gherman here, who's a founder of Vinci Eye and Mural Maker, the viral AR apps that make anyone an artist. And so for those who are new here, but there's mostly Braavo people so far, I'm Alanna. I'm the founder in residence here at Braavo. And today we're going to be spending the hour chatting with Sam. There's also plenty of opportunity to ask questions throughout, which I would love if you do. You can use the chat to just post a question, or you can also use the question feature in the bottom right corner if you have any questions, and we'll get to them while we're chatting. And now I will introduce Sam. So Sam, as I like to say, is the multi-talented founder of Vinci Eye and Mural Maker, as I said. So you are a self-taught developer, creative professional, and even a part-time magician based in New York City, which is super cool. And it's legit. Sam has a website. It's so cool. But
Nice.
the greatest thing about I think your story is that you've truly bootstrapped your business everywhere from creating the app itself, designing, developing, and even marketing Vinci Eye and Mural Maker. But this has been with you and your partner and fiance Teresa, just the two of you, for the last 7 years. So believe it or not, this two-person team, you guys have scaled your app at times to over $10,000 in daily revenue, which is unbelievable. And more recently, as we were just chatting about, you guys have scaled or you've launched some pretty awesome Instagram reels that have reached up to 5 million views. I mean, is it more now? Like 5 million
It's
views and
it's
counting at this point?
5.9, like the big one. So, and then we've had a
That's
couple of them just hit
incredible.
up. I think,
That's
since we
incredible.
last talked, yeah, we have it like a 3 million, a 1.7 million, and so yeah, it's been going good. I think we're stumbling on a little bit of a secret sauce for at least for our products. So
Yeah. Awesome. So we'll get to all of that later on in this conversation. So we're going to be talking about bootstrapping and funding, finding funding for your app or not finding funding for your app early on. Um, Another great topic is building a user-centered approach to support and improving your product, which is something that you guys have really sort of built into your whole development strategy. Also, something that these guys did recently was transform a paid only app. So, DVE, Vinci Eye, at one point was only a paid only app and now is offering a subscription. So, we'll chat a bit about how that experience has gone. And then also, of course, creating viral content that really resonates with users. So, Sam, thank you for joining us. I would love, well, did I miss anything? Is that the intro complete?
no, very very thorough.
Awesome. So I would love to know, I know this is something that we chatted about when we were prepping, but how you got started.
So I started well, ever since I was a kid. I think when I was 17 years old, my mom got me the 4 Hour Work Week, that book by Tim Ferriss, and I was obsessed with not doing a regular 9 to 5 and retiring and do all that stuff. So my goal has always been to create some kind of side hustle, some kind of project that would let me live wherever I wanted to live, have the freedom to work when I wanted, where I wanted, and that, like I said, led me to trying out different things like being a magician, which I was always into since I was a kid. Also, I mean, that was my first show was in kindergarten. But yeah, kind of, I went down this path of, when I was in college, I created a website called awesomnj.com because I'm originally from New Jersey, and I started to learn, very basics of coding there. Then eventually I moved to I moved on to building web apps and kind of automation systems. So when I got a job at Macy's eventually, where I had automated most of my workload. So I was able to take online Udemy classes and Lynda classes. And then because I had automated so many things, I had a lot of time to work and practice how to develop and code, and which eventually led into apps. And from the apps, I tried out a couple things before Vinci Eye, very briefly, but the major app that I kind of hit on was Vinci Eye, which my background is my father's an artist and my mother's an artist, and they've been using kind of tools similar to Vinci Eye my entire life growing up. So I saw this awesome documentary about how great masters like Vermeer would use optical tools when creating their artwork. And this brought me back to my childhood, seeing my dad upstairs, painting in our attic with a slide projector. And I thought I could make this into an app. Oh, there you go. So that's how the idea of the app kind of came about. So at that time I was learning how to code for, creating apps. And I made a very simple version of this where it just overlaid a picture over your camera feed. And I launched it on the App Store, and I, bought about $2,000 worth of Facebook ads. And in the first 5 weeks, we had about 50,000 downloads, and I was blown away. And me working a 9 to 5, my entire adult life, I thought, man, this is it. This is my opportunity to finally live my dream and get out there and do this as a living. The problem was that it was a freemium app and nobody upgraded to the freemium version, so it didn't really give me an income. But I had a great idea, and I knew that I hit on something pretty special then. So at that point, I went around to a friend of mine who's actually a VC at the time, and I said, hey, I made this really cool app. It's got 50,000 downloads, and we a $2,000 marketing budget. And he was like, oh, this is really cool, but if you rebuild it in like a good programming language, because I kind of built it in a rudimentary language that was just more for gaming, he said, I'll show it to my guys and we'll invest in it. So I said, that's awesome. So I went back, and with the free time that I had, I learned how to code in Swift, like a real development language. And I rebuilt the app from scratch, came back to him, and he said, this is amazing. This looks great. But you should just fund it yourself because it's doing so well. Like, you don't really want to get involved in VC funding if you don't have to. So meanwhile, and that's totally really, really good advice, except for the fact I was living in Manhattan, had no money, and
needed to make money to live in Manhattan.
Right, needed to make money and had like 6 figures in student loan debt from going to grad school for for marketing and everything. So shortly after that, I didn't get discouraged, but kept working on it, kept collecting user feedback, and at one point I put it up on Product Hunt, and it was the #2 product of the day without doing anything. I had no idea that people created whole strategies around putting their product on Product Hunt and building user bases. So without any effort whatsoever, it became the #2 app of the day on Product Hunt. And then I started freaking out, going, this is amazing. This is really cool. Again, here's the moment, this is going to take off. But I didn't realize that Product Hunt is a lot of people that are interested in, building and developing products, and not so much consumers who are going to Product Hunt to download new things. So I think I got like a couple hundred installs off that, and it wasn't like the game-changing thing.
Right.
And then another company reached out shortly after that, who saw me on Product Hunt though, and they said, this is amazing, we want to white label this. And the only thing is, with the white labeling, we need an Android version as well as an iOS version. And this was a huge company. I signed an NDA, which is probably not valid anymore, but this huge, very extremely well-known company wanted to white label it. And I thought, man, this is my moment. This is it. This is finally again, for the third time. So I learned how to code in Java. I rebuilt the app in Android in about 2 months, I think, which all of my free time I just spent just trying taking these Udemy courses, trying to figure that out. So I finally launched the new Android app, and I came back to the guy and then his email bounced back and he had left the company. So it's been all these crazy ups and downs. So
Yeah.
but at that point I had an Android app. We have an iOS app that's really well built, and I kept trying to get funding, and then nobody really bit with funding because at that time actually Teresa wasn't helping me at that point, but so it was solo founder with no exits or anything that were successful in the past. So I don't think a lot of people had too much confidence in me at that time. So what really made the app take off was, well, also too, the amount of money that I was asking for was not a lot of money. I think if I was trying to raise even more money, it would have worked out better. Like I think I only needed $50,000, and on the advice of somebody else, they were like, you need to raise it to like $500,000 because no one's going to take you seriously.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy how that works, because in the VC world, the fundraising world, it's like if you're thinking too small, and by thinking too small can be translated into that, that amount of money that you raise, because if you're only asking for 50K, how far is that really going to take you? And it is much harder to be taken seriously that way.
yeah,
It's frustrating because you don't want to give away more of your company, or you don't want to take more
right.
investor dollars than you really need. But yeah,
I think
that's an interesting takeaway.
I forget who said it, but like in my research, someone said it's just as hard to raise 50,000 as it is to raise like 5 million or something, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so
Wow.
I never got the funding. But during the pandemic, the best thing that ever happened to me was I got furloughed from my day job for about 3 months. And at this point, the pandemic unemployment insurance was now, my investor. This was my seed capital. So every day from the time that I woke up to the time that I went to sleep, I just started rebuilding the app from scratch. I integrated all these features that I didn't have time to integrate before. I redid all of my marketing materials. My bedroom, which was a small Manhattan apartment, my bedroom just looked like a photo studio from all the lights that I had bought at Target and like drilled into my wall so I would have proper lighting. And I drilled a tripod also into my wall so I could have like a good overhead view. It was a mess. But but then by the end of that time, I'd relaunched the app and it started taking off. And I think one day we had made like $100 in a day, which is more than I had kind of made from the app in the past. And then the next day after that, I'd made like $200. The day after that, 300, and then 400, then 500, and I think like $800 in a day. And I'm freaking out and I'm going, this is amazing. I can finally quit my job and like do this. And then the
Yeah.
day after that, I think they went down to 700, and then 500, and then 400. And then I was right back to where I started. And then my dreams were crushed again. But I learned that it did have the potential to make money. I just was doing something wrong. And I think that was I knew that it had potential at that point. I mean, I always knew that it had potential, but this was like really like the validation that I needed. So I hired someone that knew what they were doing, and all the money that I'd made during that period, I was like, I'm going to hire someone that knows what they're doing with Facebook ads and social ads. And with just a few tweaks, because that
So
was my primary.
instead of using that money for your own income, you were like, I'm gonna reinvest. I'm gonna put this money to work.
Oh, always, yeah. So far,
Awesome.
that's I have not. All the money that we've made from the app is kind of tucked away in our bank account, and a couple other investments, just so we can keep reinvesting it even now, because
Well, it's
we're
great
really
that
trying to
you,
grow it.
yeah, for you to learn that early on. So you're like, okay, it's making a little bit of money every day, but you didn't know how to make those investments in paid UA. And also
Yeah.
remind me, at this point, was it a paid only, or was it still freemium? Had you moved over to paid at this point?
At this point, it was paid. I think we
Yeah.
moved over to paid with the Android version when that came out, like a couple of years before.
Okay.
Because I think there's something with Android. If you make the app free, you can't set it back to paid. So I
Mm,
tried paid, and paid was working out for Android. We were actually making a little bit of money. And then I'm like, you know what? Who knew that if you make people pay for something, they'll actually pay for it? So it started working out better for iOS. And I think at that time it was either $2.99 or $4.99 for the app. I think we might
Okay.
have raised it a little bit. But anyway, but from that guy, we started making again. So it went up to like $800 a day again. Then it went up to 1,000. Then it went up to a few thousand. And then I think, the height of all of this craziness was, it was in December of 2020 where I gave my job a month notice saying like, hey, I'm doing really well with this app thing that I've been telling you guys about. I think I'm going to, take off and work on that full time. And Teresa, she's worked in events. She's basically an event planner. I said, I can't do this alone. And, she's really good at project management and project managing me. So, and her company was a very small company as well. It was also like maybe like a 2 or 3 person company. So she knew how to run a small business because that's also what she did. She basically ran most of the company. So it worked out beautifully. So we both quit our jobs. January 1st, 2021 was like our start date. And that's when things just really started taking off. So that's, in January 2021 was like, we were the number 2 top paid app on the App Store. That's when we were making $10,000 a day.
Wow.
It was just absolute ridiculousness until the iOS 14.5 privacy changes came out.
So one thing that you mentioned to me as well is that like before you decided to go full time on this, you had spent, was it at that point more than 4 years, like learning and improving the product and talking to your users. And so like there's a few years of research that had already gone into this and development and improvement before you finally made the decision to work on it, like quit and go full time, right?
Absolutely. So one thing that I am driven by, I mean, this is one of my primary motivating factors is I hate terrible customer service. So,
Mm-hmm.
and if somebody emails me or wants support for the app, I will do everything in my power above and beyond to make them happy because I've had so many terrible customer service experiences where I'm just like, why would you treat a customer like that? Like it doesn't make any
Mm-hmm.
sense. So, I mean, like, yeah, one of my worst customer experiences ever too, which is like insane, was with Apps Flyer, who like I'm paying them, over $10,000 a year over that amount, and I get treated absolutely terribly. So people paying for a $4.99 app, I thought they're going to be our biggest promoters. If I can get one person to, or if every person that I talk to, if I can make them my friend, if I could start a conversation with them, then they're going to be our biggest promoters. They're going to talk about the app. They're going to tell their friends that they have some kind of investment in the app because they know the owner, they know the developer. So our strategy has always been to make friends with as many people as we can. And in doing that through the customer support tickets, what we call turning frowns upside down, we've been able to get really
Delighting
great reviews.
customers.
Right. So we've been able to get really great reviews, and we get in these awesome conversations about, well, what is it that you need? Like, what is it that you would like to see? And then sometimes I'll just jump on a video call with them, and they'll be like, it would be really great if the app could do this for my specific use case, which is where we've learned about all these crazy different use cases people are using for the app. Like the other day, someone was saying that they're using it for leather work. So they're using it for like leather burning. So I knew that there was wood burning, but leather burning.
Wow.
And I didn't even know that was there's people that draw on cookies for royal icing. There's people that use it for cupcakes. There's blind artists that use it, or visually impaired artists, which I had no idea was, I heard about it being a thing, but I didn't know kind of what tools they would need. And it turns out that our app is a great tool for them because not only can they trace an image, but it also magnifies the area that they're working on. So it's a digital magnification tool with the ability to overlay a reference image. So one of our priorities for this year is to expand on that and maybe make a separate app for specifically visually impaired artists. So you learn about all these crazy use cases just by being really friendly and trying to go above and beyond to please people and get in touch with with your customers, with your users.
It's so true. And that's one of the things that I think when, I mean, you have the benefit, I think, of being a small team, also being like fully 100% owners of what it is that you are trying to accomplish, that allows you to think this way, because you can have you can have these like conversations with your users, and if you think like maybe you were going to go in one direction, you can actually be like, well, our users are really leaning in this direction, so maybe that's the direction that we should start to take. And sometimes that can be really hard when you have a lot of other stakeholders sort of involved in your business. So I do think that like being bootstrapped is one of the foundational pieces that make it possible to have such a user-centered approach to your app experience, and then also like the direction of your company.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. So tell me about like, I think when you and I were chatting before the call, you were calling or you mentioned one of your users was Sheila. So like you have many Sheilas that you connect with when it comes to like who you need to get in touch with to learn about your app, and how it can be better for them, like how it can meet their unique needs. And so what I'm curious about is like talking to people like Sheila. How does that actually help you with your UA? Like how has that helped you with your marketing? How you improve your return on ad spend by speaking directly with your customers?
Well, it's very surprising. So we're kind of switching a little bit more away from paid to organic social now with like the recent success that we've had. But in general,
Okay.
we're starting to realize the kind of it's helped a lot with UI UX, I think, more, which in turn helps with creating product videos that you put out there for ads and for social, which in turn people realize, oh, this is how easy it is. It's easy to use and understand, and that kind of improves your return on investment. So what I generally do is my mother is my probably the best asset that I have when I'm creating apps. Like she is my QA tester, where she says that she's absolutely terrible with technology and she's not very good. I don't want to say anything bad about my mother, but she's just really not great with technology. So I always show everything to her first, and if she can't figure it out, then I know that I have a lot of work to do. So I kind of work on it until she figures it out. And it's interesting because there's a large group of users that we have, which we call kind of the mom demographic, who are really into arts and crafts, who are really into painting, who are super creative, but they're just not very technology savvy. So when I talk with people like Sheila, who actually turned out to be not that bad with technology, which is kind of funny. But when I talk with these people, I get the feedback of, well, where are they getting hung up? Like, where can I make this easier? And a lot of times it's just, making something extremely obvious, what something does, the benefit of doing that. So the weird thing, I think I was telling you this before, was the types of paid ads that do well for us and the types of videos that do well for us are not the ones that you would expect, which goes into why which leads into TikTok not being our best, our revenue generating platform. So we've had this one video where it's just our instructional video, and against everything that I know about marketing for the most part, and I have an MBA in marketing, and I've done all this research on viral videos, on what should be blowing up, don't show people how it works, just show them what they can do with it, like all that kind of mentality. Our best performing video is almost our straight up instructional video and nothing else. So we've done things where it's like, here, this is what you can do with the app and this is what you can make. but we get a ton of downloads, or we get a ton of impressions and people going to the landing page. But when they download the app, well, when it's since we just switched it to free, the result is you get a lot of people downloading the app and not converting off of that ad, compared to people that are downloading. You just get higher quality users. So it seems like that the instructional video is viewed by people and kind of consumed by people that know what they want or realize the value in it and aren't just curious. They understand what's happening right away. They go, wow, I can use that. That's exactly what I need. And the other videos that are short, that are quick, that are viral, that would make sense that they should be a great ad, which are very, TikTok type ads, they kind of inspire curiosity from everyone, which leads them to download the app, which leads to, not great conversions. So in our paid ads, we don't necessarily want many people clicking through if they're not, our target market going to invest in starting a trial or something like that. Because then Facebook, all these platforms, they kind of get confused, especially with the limited amount of data, saying, these are the type of people that really want to see this ad. But in reality, they're the people that are just curious. And most of the time, the people that are curious are kids that don't have any purchasing power. So they go to the app, they open it, they see that not everything is completely free, and then they leave bad reviews going, app isn't free, this is BS.
Right.
So
it's almost as though a how-to video connects more closely to the correct, like your target demographic, because they don't know that they're looking for this thing. And that's the interesting part about what it is that you've built, is that it does serve somewhat of a niche audience, but at the same time, anyone can use it. So they don't know what they're looking for. They don't know they're going to love it. So then when they see like, oh, this is an app that I didn't even know could have existed, and this is so cool. Like I could try my hand at being an artist, and it teaches you in that ad experience exactly what to expect from the app. And then when they go and download it, it follows through on that promise, right?
Right. Because they've already been prompted with exactly how to use the app from the video, which is a huge benefit for us as far as user experience, because they've already seen this. So they already kind of know what to do. They've already watched the instructional video, or at least a good portion of it. So it gives us that added advantage also. That it's kind of like they've already invested, their time into doing it, so they might as well give it a try because they fully understand it.
Yeah, they've sat there, they've watched the video that explains to them how to use this app, and so they're like, maybe I'll just give it a try. Was this something that you discovered when you were doing your UA testing, like you were saying back in early 2021 when you had hired someone else, or was this something that you discovered on your own?
So I created a bunch of different ads. So this was in my 3-month furlough period. So I created a bunch of different ads. And I think just randomly, I'm like, I can add as much creative as I want. Why don't I just throw the instructional video in there and see what happens, right? Actually, you know what? I think this was after I hired that guy, believe it or not. I think that wasn't the ad that took off. So it was after I hired the guy. I think he was like, let's just throw as many videos as we can at this, and let's just see what performs the best. And it was at that point that we just threw the instructional video there, just edited down to 1 minute long, and it just crushed everything that we've created. And we kept trying to make things that were similar to the instructional video as well, that kind of had a similar vibe. But even now, like the most successful video we have is the instructional video as far as ads and conversion rate from ads.
Cool. That's really cool that even through testing other creatives and trying to recreate like a new version of this video, you've still found that this one performs the best.
Yeah, which also is interesting because there should be ad fatigue, right?
Yeah.
So they say, Facebook, Instagram, all these platforms, they want you to change up your ads because the same people are seeing the ads, people get tired of it. But for some reason, this does not have ad fatigue. I mean, it kind of goes against everything I know or I've been told or read about. So every once in a while we'll tweak it slightly, like we'll change the music a little bit in the background, which is very light. But I think it's more just to kind
Okay.
of appease the Facebook algorithm. But in
Yeah.
general, it's such a solid ad. It's bizarre.
I was going to say, does that actually, do you think that just making a few minor changes like once every couple of months is what might help keep it fresh in the Facebook ad system?
So that was what the suggestion of my ad guy.
Mm.
He said, you know what, just change the last second of it, change the music, just do something to make a little change when it stops performing as well. And that should reset, I guess, the algorithm or whatever it is. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems to work. Um,
Interesting.
but also,
Yeah.
since iOS 14.5, everything is kind of a more of a guess. Um, so
Yes. So let's chat about that. You mentioned that you've moved over to a bit more of an organic strategy where you guys are creating your own content that, as we talked about earlier, has been going super viral, like really impressive. Just,
nice.
so you don't work with anyone else. You're creating all of your own content yourselves.
Yes. Well, that's not true, actually. We do hire people sometimes to create content for us,
Okay.
but for the most part, we make most of our own content. There's a few things there, like the one that says 18.8. That was a collaboration with this company or this organization called Wide Open Walls. So they created
Okay.
that video. Well, most of that video for us. We kind of edited it down. Um, so this was just kind of like this was more of a PR video saying that we work with local schools and like nonprofits like Wide Open Walls to create murals in schools. So we didn't expect that one to do that great. Again, it was more of like
Yeah.
a PR kind of thing.
Very cool.
Uh, but what we do is we have this art studio in Long Island City, um, and we just go there and we bang out a few pieces of content. We just do a few drawings, and then we have them for the week or the month or whatever it is, and then we can recut them and reuse them. And we also have an instructor that we hire actually in Canada, and she
Oh,
does a lot of videos for us as well. But they're not really viral content. They're more instructional content of how to use the app, the amazing things that you can create. So we
yeah.
found that viral content is almost mutually exclusive with instructional content
Hmm.
because I think the algorithm really, a thing that we've noticed, the algorithm, I think, rewards watch time over anything else. So, or
Okay,
watch
interesting.
complete. Um, so if you go back to that page, the Instagram page,
Yeah, I'll share again.
so the one that has 3.5 million views, and scroll down
Hmm.
just a little bit more. You don't have
Oh,
you don't even have to click on it. Okay. Scroll
okay.
down a little bit more. Yeah. So the one that just so the 2 million and the 3.5 million just on the same. Just scroll up a little bit, just one row up, and stop. Perfect. Perfect. So the one that has 3.5 million views. This was something they always say. The things you put the least amount of effort into are the ones that always blow up. So I made this drawing in about 5 minutes while we were at LaGuardia Airport waiting for our food. uh,
Yeah.
I made that drawing. Teresa videoed it and then like recut it. And I just did like a stupid voiceover because I like doing these funny impressions and stuff. And and it's also a very short video. And that one just exploded. Meanwhile, the video below it, the 2 million one, uh, that one we put a lot of effort into. It was recut. This is actually like a recut of an older one, but that one has more shares, more saves, almost double the shares, saves, and likes as
Oh,
the
you're
3.5.
right. And the
So
comments as well are
all
pretty high in
and
comparison.
comments. So
Yeah.
it seems like by all the metrics that we can see that we know about, the 2 million one should be have way more views.
Yeah.
It should get pushed way harder. But 3.5 million one for some reason is just going more viral and we don't understand why. The only thing that we can determine is that it has to do with watch time, watch completeness. So the other thing is that that video, the one with the bird, 3.5 million one, is extremely short as well. So you can't get a lot of information of what's happening from the 3.5 million one, and the 2 million one, and all these other ones that are kind of have less views are more instructional as well. So it seems like it's, again, those things, those videos that pique interest and pique curiosity are what go viral, and it's the ones that are instructional that kind of pique conversions. So we also noticed when we have these different videos go viral, we'll notice different conversion rates. So with when the first one went viral, the one that's at 5.9, which is a little bit further down, our conversion rates like plummeted. So our normal conversion rate is around like 13% for like a start trial. So then it plummeted down to like 8% for a start trial. And then I think it even got a little bit lower than that. But then
you have a 13% conversion on your free trial.
Yeah.
Is that, wow, that's very high. That's great.
Well, here's the thing. It's a good thing and it's kind of a bad thing. It's because, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But the app is very limited. So you can't draw your own pictures. And I mean, that's basically what everybody wants to do, is draw their own pictures without starting a trial. We also show the start trial screen as soon as you go through the onboarding presentation. So that gives us good trial start rates, but also from people that are downloading the app that want to draw their own photos, which is every single kid, everybody who's on TikTok, everybody that has no purchasing power, they end up leaving us terrible reviews.
Right.
So this is something that we're thinking about, where this is an experiment we're going to do, is if we're going to allow people to draw their own photos, how is that going to affect our conversion rate going forward? Because we're newly a freemium app in the past like 2 months, basically. We're crushing it with trial starts, with the trial start rate, but the negative reviews also, they hurt. So it looks like we have a 4.6 overall rating right now. At our current rate, with our current like 1-star to 5-star ratio, it would balance out to be a 4.0 rating. So if we're okay with our rating dropping down to about 4.0 and keeping this, then that's something we got to figure out. But as long as those like reviews don't make it to the front page also, which is a danger, this seems to be a good formula for us. So
it's amazing. You guys are taking such an analytical approach to, this fun viral content, and in some cases, like more instructional stuff, and just videos that you're creating yourself that people are finding really, like, you just scroll through your Instagram content. There really isn't a single video less than 10,000 views. Like, it's so impressive, the reach that you're getting through this organic content. And so, and would you say that, are you leaning more into this approach than, and like, how does paid UA, and also this whole, you've moved over from a free app from a paid app to a subscription-based app. Like, how are you thinking about the future of investing your marketing dollars?
Well, real quick, because I kind of wanted to touch on this just a little bit. So when they switched over to the iOS 14.5, that gutted us. Like, we were relying 100% on like Facebook, Instagram ads, Pinterest ads, like all the ad platforms for our revenue, because that's how we got the word out. So once Apple launched that, we went from making a ton of money to losing about $10,000 a month, because we couldn't, nobody could figure out how to make it work. And we didn't have any other channels of gaining users. So that's when we decided we need to diversify. So I used to work as a category manager, a product manager at this company called Lifetime Brands. And they were a privately owned company. They had 500 million in revenue or something. and they're publicly traded. But one of the reasons why they didn't have like a great rating was because they had said, something like 40% of their business came from Walmart. And if they, severed their relationship with Walmart, the whole company would crumble. So I thought about that a lot. And that's the exact same thing that happened with us, is that we're relying so heavily on just one marketing channel and one source of income that we need to diversify. So since I was 14.5, after that, we spent this time trying to figure out, like, how do we diversify our marketing channels? How do we diversify our income sources as well? So we launched the second app, Mural Maker, and we tried that out as a subscription to see if people would be interested in an app like this for subscription. So that was kind of our testing ground. So we also we started advertising Mural Maker in our other app and vice versa. So that was another income stream, is that we'll use one app as an income stream into the other. So that way they market each other, kind of create an ecosystem. We started selling physical products too, because we have people that are just about to put a pencil to paper. Why not sell them pencils and paper? So we started selling phone stands, and we've kind of tried selling different art supply products as well. So that was another source of income. And the organic approach is something that, we've tried, magazines, so like Artist Network magazine, Watercolor Artist magazine, things like that, which didn't have the best return, but we didn't lose money with it. I think overall we probably made like a little bit of money, and it gives us credibility as well. And organic is something we really, really, really wanted to build up. And just like, when the app first launched, I think you have to find your secret sauce of, well, how do we make this work? Like, what is, what's going to be viral? Like, what's going to stick? So you just keep throwing stuff against the wall to be like, what is your, what's your sauce until it works. So we're focusing, I think we actually turned off our paid ads right now just for this week. We still find that there's value. There's 100%, it has incremental value, like a ton. We still get a very large percentage of our total downloads from paid ads, but we just want to see, what is our organic lift from these videos. So, and also like using MMPs and stuff like that, you can get an idea, but I don't trust that information all the way because there's so much static out there. Apple makes it very difficult to do that.
Yeah. Well, so do you find that there is a noticeable lift when you have paid UA running in tandem with, some of these organic videos going viral?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely a lift. You definitely get more users. I think the difference is that, I mean, it eats into your margins. Like if you're getting a whole bunch of free downloads and stuff, but it's still incremental. So I think like right now, what we were looking at, it's like, and we can work on this and like whittle it down a bit. But we're not making that much money this year from the annual subscription. We'd be making more next year. So it's more of a longer term investment. But it's still worth it to do. It's all these things. It's like, is it worth it to do? Are you making money? Yeah. So do it. Like kind of a lower amount of effort. So the only thing is that it does eat into, your bank account, into your capital, which is why something like Braavo is so fantastic.
And there's the plug.
That's the plug. Yeah. So when you have those discrepancies, of when the App Store pays you and when you need the money to pay the ad platforms, that's when there's Braavo.
Yeah. Well, so what I find really interesting about your story is to me, it sounds like you've invested a lot into really building a brand. Like you've built a brand within the artist community. I think that's why your content resonates so strongly. That's why you have what sounds like a really excellent, I mean, we didn't talk much about retention, and there was a question actually in the chat about retention. But your conversion rate on your trial is so great because people are so excited about trying something that they've seen already. Like they're like, oh, I saw this thing, and now I want to try it out. And so one thing that you spoke about before this with me was partnerships. Like you're exploring partnerships with bigger brands who need to find a way to digitize, with artists to like, get into the modern age if they sell
Yeah.
coloring pencils. And I find that that's a difficult thing for an app business to do. So do you mind sharing a bit about that approach as
Yeah.
part of your journey to
So,
find revenue channels?
so yeah, so we went to this amazing trade show the other day. Well, not the other day, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. So yeah, so we went to this trade show, and it's an art supplier trade show. So it's art buyers, so art stores and art suppliers. So you have like all the big paint companies, color pencil companies, paintbrush companies, craft companies, glue, like everything you name it, they were there. And they had this awesome awesome panel, and they paid for like this ridiculous research on just everything and the state of the industry. It was the first time they did it, and it was worth the entire price of going to Columbus, Ohio, for a couple of days to do this. So just that alone. And one of the things they said was, well, one of the things that everybody up there can agree with is that it's an older industry, especially the people that are making the supplies and things like that, and they don't really understand social. They haven't really gotten to be too on board with the digital space. And you can hear the presidents and the CEOs of these companies who are up there, like white hair, talking about the digital space like it was the worst thing that ever happened to them. But what was that provided us with this opportunity of they classified one group of people in particular as dabblers. And dabblers were people that during the pandemic, they started getting into buying art supplies and doing arts and crafts because they didn't have anything else to do, and they thought it would be a fun hobby. So for us, and one of the things they were saying is, what you need to do as retailers, and what we need to do as an industry, is figure out how do we retain the dabblers? Like, how do we make sure that they stay on board so they stay consuming and stay interested? So that's where I come in, and I started using that information at the whole show, saying, well, you sell, let's just say, colored pencils. So you sell colored pencils, and the problem is that you have these dabblers, you have these people that are interested in doing artwork and art supplies and creating whatever it is. But the problem is that when people try something and they realize that they're not very good at doing it, then they stop doing it. They want to feel accomplished. They want to feel like they created something. They don't want to draw something and look at it and go, I suck, because then they're going to throw the pencils out and never want to buy it again. But with my app, with this app that Teresa and I have built up, you're good right away. You create something, and the reaction of everyone that ever tries it for the first time is, wow, I can't believe I just made that. And you combine that with the whole dabbler psychology, and then they're good at it right away, and they want to keep making, they want to keep creating. And this is what the goal of the company is, to inspire people to create as much as possible, to inspire people that didn't think that they could create something to the vision that they wanted, that they can, and they just needed a little help. It's essentially a ruler. If you can't draw a straight line very easily, use a ruler. I mean, even professionals use tools like Vinci Eye. They use projectors, they use all these different scaling and image transfer methods. So
in my perspective, I see that as a perfect fit from like a partnership. And any sort of old school art supply company should absolutely be partnering with you, maybe even one day acquiring your business. Like, is that something that you think about? And I'm sure that sort of alignment is hard to find in the app world. And I see that as a really great path that you have sort of found.
Yeah. It's so interesting because when we were at the show, because we go to a lot of events where, with tech companies and startups and all this other stuff, but they're not really our people, which is weird to say. It's like, you actually don't get very much benefit to going to these things. We got way more benefit going there. So yeah, I think, in the eventual goal to be acquired by someone at some point, those would be the companies that acquire us, I think. So, and the goal, like you said, is to build up a brand, build up, a suite of apps that, people love and trust to be of quality. Have, art supplies and tools that complement those apps, and then, be acquired by one of these, larger art supply companies that realizes the importance of, digital. And I think the brand and the social presence are huge assets that we have that we can offer. And it's funny because some of these really well-known art brands do not have the following that they should on social media, which is like absolutely crazy. But again, it's in an older industry, but there's a lot of promise because it's every one of their customers is a content creator.
Yeah, exactly. It's this is great. I love learning about your story from start to finish, and to hear, like, how you bootstrapped it from the beginning and then where you guys are now, and the way that you're approaching all of this. It's a very analytical approach, but you're also extremely passionate and obviously love what it is that you've built, and you're dedicated to your users, who I would even call your fans. Like, you clearly have a growing fan base, which is what any brand would love to be building. So congratulations to both of you and it's amazing that you're a 2-person team. Like, it's incredible work.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to expand where we hire a lot of freelancers. We try and hire teams to kind of help us out. And that's kind of been our investment for this year, is trying to grow our ability to scale quickly. So that's our mission. So we're at the core 2-person team, but hopefully we'll grow to be a little bit bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So we can expect some exciting things from Da Vinci Eye over the next couple of months, next few years.
Absolutely. Yes, totally.
Awesome. Well, okay. So we had one question that came up that wasn't addressed from the chat. Sure. So the question was about retention. So is there anything that you've done that you think has had a meaningful impact on improving the retention of your users?
Absolutely. So, well, 2 things to say about retention. So when I first started working on the app, I had this thought. It was more of, people are paying, $4.99 for the app, or $2.99, or whatever it was at the time. I don't really need to focus on retention because they're buying it once, and if they come back in the app or not, I don't really care. I mean, I do care. It would hurt my feelings if they didn't come back in the app, but from like a totally statistical standpoint, the retention didn't really matter very much. But then it does. It matters a lot. So I read this book that probably everyone that probably has read, if you're in app marketing or product development for apps in any way, called Hooked. And it was about the gamification and things to kind of keep your users engaged in your app. So one of the big things that I integrated into the app during that 3-month period was an entire social network. With triggers and things to bring people back into the app, things that would inspire people to be like, oh, I want to, post more. I want to open it. I created things like challenges in the app for people to complete, which in this new version of the app I took out, but just because I didn't have time, but I'm going to be putting them back in. But retention is huge. And I think that retention, it makes people remember your app. It makes people, keep the app top of their mind. It was a tip of tongue is top of mind, or something like that. Or top of mind is tip of tongue. So yeah, I think the next push of the app and the features in the app are going to start focusing on retention again, and heavily, trying to keep people engaged. So yeah, so that's basically what we did, is we added an entire social network to it that people love, that send them push notifications that are relevant, not just kind of random spammy ones. We added a way for people to get feedback on their artwork by, in the form of likes. We added the ability to upload your own photos for other people to draw and have their own interpretations of it. We added a daily inspiration photo. So every day you open the app and there's a new photo for you to draw. So retention is huge. And I think that was one of the, I think that's also a metric that leads to your rankings in a way on the App Store, but I don't think it's huge, but I think it's definitely a contributing factor. So
Like time spent in the app, perhaps?
Yeah. Oh, also time spent in the app for us is fantastic because they're sitting there drawing something for 45
Right. Yeah.
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 I think our average time in the app is something like 18 minutes or something. So like
that's really high. And then one other question was also what are some of the things that you've tried with your paywall to, I mean, and you are recently a subscription only. So are you experimenting with your paywall to improve? You also already have a very high free trial conversion, so your paywall must be doing pretty well as is.
So this is the first iteration of the paywall that we have up. So like I said, we just went up like 2 months ago or whatever it is. So it's the first iteration. We want to do split testing on it. We looked into doing Superwall to do that, but at this point, there's too many things that are taking, every company that focuses on conversions in any way takes, pennies off your dollar for everything. So I decided that we weren't going to do that just because we needed to, save a little money, and that I would reinvest that money elsewhere. But we're going to try and do some split testing. I did a lot of research on the paywall. I might have thrown too many things in there, but we're gonna do split testing for that soon. But yeah, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, just experimentation. Yeah.
Yeah,
experimenting with your paywall and under.
Yeah, it's hugely important.
Exactly.
I just build it in. Yeah.
Nice.
Phase 2.
Okay. Well, awesome. Love it. I'm excited for you guys. This is an exciting time. After running it for so many years and then moving to a new sort of business model with a subscription, and then also these partnership opportunities coming for you. Like it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, it was really cool. That trade show also, like once you find your people, like every single person in that trade show we could collaborate with, and everybody, once you explain to them, like so it's actually real quick, 2 seconds. So it was funny because every time that they were like, oh, well, what do you do? And as soon as you say you're an app, they just go like they're massive eye rolls. But then when you explain that it's a non-digital, like it's for non-digital artists, then it starts getting them interested again. But just the disdain, I think, for digital art and kind of like the issues that the digital aspect has brought to the industry is definitely palpable. The tension there. So as soon as they see the opportunity to marry what they do with digital, then they're on board and they're like, let's do this. Here's my card. Let's talk next week.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing. So takeaway would be to find where you fit in, like find your niche in real life and start making those relationships and possibly turn them into business opportunities.
All the tech meetup groups and all that stuff, they're all great, but find your people in the real world outside of tech. Like find where your users are and go there.
Totally agree. Love it. Okay, well, we've hit the hour of our office hours. Anything else you'd like to add? Any other questions from our audience today? We've had a few questions come in. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for joining us. I love this conversation, love chatting with you, learning about, I think you and I first talked maybe like 6 months ago, and I love hearing about how your story continues to evolve. It's always fun to learn about how other founders are doing, and thank you so much for sharing everything today.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me to do this. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy everything that we talk about. So this is great. Thank you so much again.
Awesome. Okay. And thank you everyone who joined us today, and we will be back for office hours next month. Bye everyone.
Thanks.